U.S. President Donald Trump is delivering his first military commencement address since returning to office. According to Associated Press, the Republican president is set to speak to West Point's graduating class on Saturday morning. Trump gave the commencement address at West Point in 2020, during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. The president urged graduating cadets to never forget the soldiers who fought a war over slavery during his remarks, which came as the nation was reckoning with its history on race after the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis. Trump also paid tribute to the military academy's history and its famed graduates, including Douglas MacArthur and Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Russia is deploying nuclear-tipped air-to-air missiles for the first time since the Cold War. The deployment comes amid the Russian regime's invasion of Ukraine and unprecedented levels of tension between Russia and Western countries. This is reported by Newsweek, citing a report published by the Pentagon's Defense Intelligence Agency. It is noted that the missiles resemble the weapons that the Soviet Union had during the Cold War, but the new version is adapted for use by the latest Russian combat aircraft. We may be talking about a special version of the R-37 aircraft missile, the R-37M, which can be carried by the MiG-31BM, Su-30SM, Su-35 and possibly the Su-57. While nuclear-capable air-to-air missiles were part of the Soviet Union's arsenal during the Cold War, little is known about their current status within the Russian aerospace forces, making the disclosure all the more intriguing. The article says, the deployment of such weapons has been known since at least 2018, wrote Hans Christensen, director of the Nuclear Information Project at the think tank Federation of American Scientists, FAS, but he said the weapons had magically disappeared from US Defense Department publications about Russia's nuclear arsenal all these years. Air-to-air missiles emerged at a time when squadrons of heavy strategic bombers carrying nuclear warheads were considered among other means of delivering nuclear weapons to a potential enemy's territory. Such missiles were intended to destroy bomber formations in the air. The advent of intercontinental ballistic missiles significantly reduced the relevance of air-to-air nuclear missiles, and the development of air defense led to the disappearance of the very idea that a formation of strategic bombers could bomb anything. The missiles themselves also changed, from huge ground-based air defense missiles to attempts to install nuclear warheads on small aircraft missiles. Not having to get within range of a missile's high-explosive warhead to shoot down a target could be seen as an advantage in the modern era. perhaps against stealth aircraft that can be detected but are difficult to pin down, especially by the missile's small radar during its terminal attack phase. Another possibility is that nuclear-armed air-to-air missiles could be used to counter drone swarms or waves of cruise missiles. The publication notes, it should be noted that the so-called nuclear umbrella is being actively discussed in Europe due to Russian President Vladimir Putin's regular nuclear threats. However, former Lithuanian President Dalia Grybauskaitė calls for not giving into panic over Russia's nuclear threats.
Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Thursday that timing for a second round of peace talks with Ukraine hasn't been determined yet. According to Associated Press, speaking at a conference in Moscow, Lavrov ruled out holding the next round of talks in the Vatican, noting that it would be not very elegant for the Vatican to host the talks between two Orthodox nations. He said Russia is working on a memorandum related to the military campaign, which will focus on eliminating its root causes. Lavrov repeated President Vladimir Putin's claims that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky lost legitimacy after his term expired last year, but emphasized that Russia is open to contacts with him and his administration to reach agreements on the settlement principles. When it comes to signing, that's where the issue of legitimacy will be of decisive importance, because if it's signed by those whose legitimacy is dubious, their successors could challenge the agreement, Lavrov claimed.
Сроки пока не определялись. Там фантазируют многие люди, когда, где она состоится. Нет у нас никаких сейчас идей. На Украине, у Соединенных Штатов, кроме. Я просто хочу сказать, чтобы не было, чтобы не тратили умственные способности на проработку вариантов, которые не очень реалистичны, потому что, представьте себе, Ватикан как место проведения переговоров, немножко это неэлегантно, я бы сказал, когда православные страны будут на католической площадке обсуждать вопросы, касающиеся устранения первопричин. Одна из первопричин – это курс на уничтожение Украинской православной церкви.
Не раз говорил о необходимости создания новой архитектуры.
Мы все равно не отказываемся от контактов с ним и с его администрацией для того, чтобы согласовать устраивающие всех принципы урегулирования. Другое дело, когда дойдет до подписания, вот там вопрос легитимности будет иметь решающее значение, потому что если подпишут те, чья легитимность, мягко говоря, никого уже не убеждает, то сменщики могут поставить под сомнение достигнутую договоренность. Там расследовать-то, собственно, нечего. Там люди, которые поджигают, да, уже говорят публично американские представители современной, нынешней администрации, что территориальный вопрос это неизбежно. Его придется решать, исходить из реалий и так далее. А Европа повторяет упорно и достаточно неумно, что русские должны уйти в границы 1991 года.